Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and today we're going to talk about escrow, the XRP escrow that Ripple quote owns, and we're going to talk about the pre-allocation. This started last night with yesterday with Mr. B. He had done a video, and so I was going to kind of go over this to make my point on this, okay? And the first thing, the other day, Mr. B had tweeted this out. I believe XRP will be the secret sauce, will be a secret no more once it is disclosed who specifically owns the remaining XRP in escrow. The point being that, yes, that $55 billion is in Ripple escrow, but many of us out here have made the point all along that is at least a large portion of that is pre-allocated, and we don't know to who because we can't see it, but the pre-allocated to either central banks, payment companies, governments, we don't know exactly how it is. But this is Brad Combs' pre-allocation theory. But I'm going to show you today, I'll show you even further evidence of this. But first, he tweeted this, and I thought that it was interesting the way that David Schwartz had replied. He always replies in code, and I showed you this the other day. But now words mean things. I say that all the time on this channel. I'm going to show you what words do mean. Words that David Schwartz uses when he's using his code. Ripple uses ledgers, but the important thing for you to get out of this is he doesn't answer the question. He doesn't address the elephant in the room. He just circles the elephant, and he's not going to address it. And my contention to you is that Ripple cannot and will not answer this. And those of you that don't believe that XRP is pre-allocated, you should ask yourself that question. Why will they not answer this question directly? And the reason is very clear. It's because we're right. So just keep watching. All right. So he says Ripple uses Ledger's escrow features a time lock by making an escrow that can never succeed and only expires. You can create escrows that succeed to one account or expire back to the originator for more traditional escrow applications. It says let's go back to the top. Ripple uses the Ledger's escrow feature as a time lock by making an escrow that can never succeed and only expires. So all this is just kind of, the point is that this wording is just kind of gobbledygosh to me. I don't even is that a word? Gobbledygosh or whatever. But I just feel like if you could answer it, you could answer it in a much more straightforward way than that is my main thing. Now, this is Mr. B. For those of you that don't subscribe to him, give him a subscribe. He put out a video yesterday where he had found something that I'm going to show you now, but go give him a subscribe. He saw something that I had not seen yet. Let me see let me pull this up first. This is what he found right here. And it's XRP supply. We've all seen this on Ripple's website, but I had never seen this down here. Okay. As of April 26, 2020, total includes business development agreements that are still pending. Well, he jumped on this and I jumped on it too. And then some people brought to our attention, well, no, there's an asterisk right there. It only refers to this distributed amount because there's an asterisk there. Okay, fair enough. I'll give you that. But I also like to focus in on words. As of April 26, 2020, total includes business development agreements that are still pending. Well, each one of these says total. They happen to have an asterisk here. And so let's assume that you're right. I stick by my guns on this. There's not a doubt in my mind. What I am telling you, and I'm telling you right here, I don't care where the freaking asterisk is, this, at least a large portion of it, is not Ripple's in terms of ownership. It is pre-allocated. That's what Brad Combs' theory was. I believe it too, and I believe it for very specific reasons. But now let's look at this. And who knows? Maybe they forgot to put an asterisk here. Who knows? Maybe they didn't want to. I don't know. But let's go down, and I think I can pretty well prove my case here. An explanation of Ripple's XRP escrow. If you go down here, and I don't think I highlighted it, on ledger an escrow entry. Let me see if that's the part. It says, if an escrow is successfully finished, it delivers the XRP held to its destination account. If the escrow canceled, it delivers XRP back to the source account. A ledger can have a date before which it cannot be canceled, a date before which it cannot be finished, and a condition which it must satisfy to permit it to be finished. That could be any kind of condition. There's all kind, but the main point is the way that this escrow has been created. There's all kinds of vagaries here. Okay, now. And I'm going to get to the point now. I want to explain to you just one of the many specific reasons that there's no way on this planet that the federal government of the United States is going to allow this company. Now think about this. Take yourself through this thought process. So first, the federal government is going to allow you to create this digital asset out of thin air. They're going to let you then turn around. From 2012 until now, they're going to allow you to sell it and fund this, fund that, sell it to hire people, attract Ivy Leaguers. Then those Ivy Leaguers are going to come, and all of those brilliant people, those brilliant minds, including the people that become advisors to this company, all of them are going to do all of this under the idea that this thing that could potentially be called a security could send them all to jail, right? Because they're selling it. All of them are going to do that. That defies logic, first of all, okay? Here's what else defies logic. Look back at history. We have it, and it's not just me talking. I'm going to show you a Hodor blog where he addresses the same thing. I don't just believe Hodor knew this. I believe Hodor knew that they were going to IPO. I believe Hodor knew people at Ripple. I believe Hodor talked to those people. He said he talked to those people occasionally. I also know that Hodor is the only person besides maybe Tiffany Hayden that Brad Garlinghouse has ever mentioned publicly prior to, say, 2019. Okay? The only one. But he knew things, folks. I'll show you. All right? Now, but let's go. This is something Hodor covered. Antitrust laws. There's no way on the planet Earth that the federal government would allow this company to do all of that. Then let them hold $55 billion, knowing that prices could skyrocket in XRP. And when they did, this company would have the power of a country. Not going to happen. Don't take my word for it. Here's a video from CNBC where they talk. I'm just going to show you the intro on the short intro on antitrust.
In July 2019, the U.S. government targeted America's biggest tech companies.
The Department of Justice and the FTC appear to be looking at whether the leading tech platforms have used improper means to acquire monopoly positions or to exclude promising rivals from contesting their position.
Translation: are these companies too big? And did they get that way illegally? These questions fall under a set of laws that, until recently, had faded from the public spotlight.
Antitrust has gone from being this completely sleepy backwater discipline that was, just a few people talked about, to being very much in the public news.
We've really started to see a lot of discussion about, does there need to be more enforcement of antitrust? Are we really enforcing these laws and using these tools in the way that they were intended to be?
And it's not just tech. Antitrust concerns have arisen around other industries that are also dominated by a few huge companies, like domestic airlines, pharmaceuticals, telecommunications, and beer.
There's always this kind of balance between the desire for an efficient economy and this fear of what happens to society, to democracy, to the interest of consumers, the interest of labor.
So we asked these experts to explain. What is antitrust anyway? The first federal antitrust law...
I'm not going to go any further into that. But I do want to go through a couple things. Now, these two quotes I'm going to show you is going to be from the Hodor blog entry that I'm about to show you as well. These are Hodor's quotes from this. Ripple is quite cognizant of possible market capitalization numbers, along with the public relations challenges that will go with it. Their plan is not to just sit on their XRP and watch as their valuation skyrockets past the valuation of the East India Company. And then here's another quote, and this one's very telling to me. Even though 55 billion XRP is locked away in Ripple escrow, Ripple still technically has custody of that XRP, and it will still be used to measure the company's valuation. Hodor Blog. Keyword is custody. Custody means that you're holding it for someone else that owns it, folks. Words mean things. Now, here's the custody. Custody means immediate charge and control. So you control it, and you're in charge of it, but you don't own it. Okay. Now, there's a third possibility here, and that is that PolySign is somehow involved in the actual holding of this. I don't know. But now I want to show you, this is what Hodor wrote about back, I think this was in 2018. Let me make sure I start from the right place. Ripple's XRP holdings in the early 1900s, the most valuable companies are usually corporations that manufacture tangible goods or products. They include behemoths such as U.S. Steel, Standard Oil, International Harvester. As time went on, the names began to include technology companies. By the mid-60s, the composition changed to include IBM and AT&T, as well as Kodak. Recently, the world has seen the rise of Silicon Valley and West Coast software companies. These new entrants have now taken the top spots. I'm old enough to know that the valuations of some of these companies have been and still are controversial. The current top 3 companies of the world by stock market capitalization, here it is, third quarter 2017, Apple, 792 billion, Alphabet, Google, 665, Microsoft, 569. Yes, these valuations are massive and they continue to be controversial for some people. You might wonder if any company has recently been valued at over $1 trillion. The answer is yes. November 2007, PetroChina was valued at 1.1 trillion. I'm going to skim some of this, folks. I'm bringing up these valuations because it's become a hotly debated topic in cryptocurrency at the moment. Since Ripple holds approximately 6 billion XRP, the native no counterparty currency of the XRP ledger. Anybody can own XRP, but the fact is most of them are owned by the company that created it, roughly 60% in fact. So when XRP rose to over $3 per unit in early January of this year, many people, not just crypto investors, did the math and arrived at a very large number, somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 billion. This immediately raised some eyebrows. These are the kind of eyebrows, this is my words, Congress eyebrows. These are the kind of eyebrows where the Fed's eyebrows get raised. It wasn't the 200 billion valuation that bothered some, but rather it was the potential. They'd seen how fast the price of XRP rose, and this based mostly on speculation to this point, even though XRP's use case is massive, and some predict that its valuation should be measured at significant numbers. Eventually, they pointed out that speculation alone had the potential to power Ripple's valuation higher, even when the largest Silicon Valley company based purely on the value of digital asset holdings. And then it says, get ready to be uncomfortable. Now he goes through some of these companies in the history of the United States that got too big. I'm not sure if you can see the small print. Here's the valuations that they got in today's dollars, okay? The numbers are adjusted for inflation. It's the value that these companies would have measured at using current value equivalents. These companies were granted monopolistic dispensations for certain periods of history, for better or worse. Eventually, monopolies are typically broken into smaller companies or divisions as history progresses. Circle back to Ripple. Ripple will be the most valuable company on the planet Earth if XRP adoption continues. I predict that it will happen in 2018. The reason why is because XRP adoption has now started in earnest, and this is one of the software solution of Ripple's that utilizes XRP. I've already described the reasons why XRP will be adopted by the banks, financial institutions, other companies, previous blogs, but suffice it to say, XRP is gaining traction very quickly, and this highlighted part says it all, folks. Even though 55 billion XRPs locked away in rolling escrow. Ripple still technically has custody of that XRP, and it will still be used to measure the company's valuation, the big number. I know what you're wondering, because I wondered the same thing. At what XRP price point will Ripple be worth trillions of dollars? XRP $17 USD. How will the world view Ripple? Just so you're mentally and emotionally prepared for it, the price won't stop at $17. It will keep going past this artificial construct that makes people uncomfortable. While most crypto analysts have given maximum price points of XRP at somewhere between 5 and 50, there are some very insightful analysts who place their upper estimates at well over $100. Those XRP prices, while perhaps seeming steep to some onlookers, would put Ripple at about the same size as some of the historical trading company monopolies. The world doesn't like monopolies. Then he goes on to talk about how the world does not like monopolies. Then he talks about the escrow, and the purpose of it is to fuel economic commerce. The world was first introduced to cryptocurrency in 2008 with the creation of Bitcoin. Since then, it has been slowly getting accustomed to the idea of an international currency that treats the borders of the countries as an insubstantial piece of metadata that has nothing to do with its own existence. And now we have XRP. I think that he lays it out there pretty darn well. Now, in recent weeks, I have talked to you about some of these Rachel tweets that have now, her account's now been, her or him or whoever it was, has now been deleted. And I'll draw your attention to one of the lines out of her, this was written up from her tweets. This is her words, though. Some people ask a silly question, make a silly statement like, why would the IMF buy XRP from Ripple or force Ripple to hand it over? It doesn't work like that. Ripple is creating digital gold with the help of the globalists. That's just part of the deal. Hand it over. Chris Larson and Arthur Brito get to be trillionaires. Others get to be multi-billionaires, and you and I get to keep a slice of the pie as well. Ripple has no other use for the 50 billion XRP in escrow. All you have to do is sit back and watch it all play out like a movie. And then there was this. This is from, this is the announcement. And this is where things get really interesting for you and I, in my opinion. This is when Ripple announced the escrow. And Mr. B had asked someone to look at this date and go and see if you could show what happened to the XRP price after this date. This, as I've said on this channel before, this piece of news is the only piece of news, the only XRP or Ripple related piece of news that I have ever seen move the price drastically in XRP to the upside. And this guy, in response to Mr. B's video, created this chart. It says, as per your request, XRP Mister, the blue line is the day Ripple put the XRP escrow out. And here it is right here. Same date as the article. And then it goes from somewhere down here in the 23-cent range, about close to where it is right now. And it went up to almost $4 in a very, very short period of time. All right. So how does this involve us? Well, we've been talking about Ripple possibly going IPO. What happens when you go IPO? You have to disclose things. Let me show you. When you disclose things, you have to have audited financials. They're a requirement for public companies. So my point in all of this is, folks, at some point, this right here, this that Mr. B found, okay, even this distributed where they've got the asterisk, but I believe also this, at some point in this road to IPO, that Brad Garlinghouse, remember, Brad Garlinghouse said it, at some point in this road to IPO, these things are going to be disclosed. Now, for those of you that think we're just all so crazy, the idea that this is earmarked, allocated, whatever. If it's a policy, who knows what they've done with it, how it's going to work. But the one thing I'm certain of is that Ripple is not going to be allowed to hold all of this and then this price goes to $50 or $100 per XRP. It's not going to be allowed to happen. I don't think it was the plan from the very beginning. I think the plan was to have it allocated. And we know that it's going to have to be disclosed in their financials because it's their number one asset according to them. Here's Brad Garlinghouse about the IPO.
So why IPO? Why go public, to your point? If you have this money, you're raising money. What's the purpose of going public?
we've
Other than
said
to
we're
ring the
going
bell.
to go public. I think what we've said, what I said was, I think 2020 will likely have crypto kind of blockchain IPOs. And I think what I said was, I don't think Ripple will be the first, but we certainly don't want to be the last. So I kind of kept it open-ended. I think people heard something a little bit different than that. But look, the balance sheet flexibility we have had has given us the ability to invest over $500 million across the blockchain ecosystem. That includes within XRP world, but also beyond that, because again, back to I think all boats can rise. So I think having balance sheet flexibility gives us strength to do new things. The MoneyGram deal is a deal I know you're very familiar with, where we invested $50 million into MoneyGram. And so we want to continue to have the flexibility to grow the business. We have added more than 150 employees last year. At a time when I think others who have been less focused on solving real problems, there's been a bunch of layoffs in the crypto community over the past even few weeks. And we're going to continue to grow. We want to make sure we have the balance sheet flexibility to do that.
So it would be about more money and about potential acquisitions and doing.
Yeah, I think about it as flexibility more than just more money. And maybe I'm parsing words a little bit, but today we have a $10 billion valuation as a private company with a private security. We have shareholders of Ripple. If you're a public company, you have a little more flexibility in the type of deals you might look at.
You're a giant.
All right. So that's what he said about that. And let's see. That I'm going to finish up just by kind of. I looked through. If you go through Ripple's tweets, just look. You can look. There's a function where once you do a search, you can click right here, and you can search all of Ripple's tweets. And I encourage you to do it. Go look through Ripple's tweets. You can actually type in central bank as a phrase and search all the tweets or the word bank. Search all the tweets where Ripple is tweeted and ask yourself this question. Does it make any sense to you that your plan is to create this new world financial order? Brad Garlinghouse has used those terms himself. Your plan is to replace SWIFT, to change the entire world, to put a dent in the universe. Does it make any sense to anyone listening to my voice that if you thought you were going to be able to do that it would not involve you spreading that XRP around, because otherwise it doesn't happen? I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that I believe this has been pre-allocated. And I believe that once the news of that pre-allocation comes out and you start seeing some of the names that have it, and all of a sudden that whole narrative by Bitcoin maximalists that, Ripple controls all the XRP, when that's gone in the blink of an eye, what happens to the price if the only other time the price has significantly moved off of news was also involving that supply? I believe it goes nuts. Thanks for listening.